Voice of Change News.
This is Voice of Change Radio News. I'm Amanda Kumalo. A quick look at stories making the headlines. President headlines Anti-Sanctions Day. In business news, economy registers 1.5% growth in 2023. In regional and international news, US cuts more support to Niger's government. In sports news, mighty warriors bank on defense. The news in detail. President Mnangagwa will lead the Anti-Sanctions Day commemorations that will be accompanied by solidarity marches, speeches, and musical shows on October 25. This was said by Information, Publicity, and Broadcasting Services Minister Dr. Jennifer Muskwere while addressing a post-cabinet briefing in Harare yesterday. In other news, proceedings in the National Assembly yesterday came to a standstill for nearly 2 hours after some rowdy CCC legislators blocked the ejection of 15 of their colleagues who were recalled from Parliament last week. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Advocate Jacob Mudenda, had notified the House of the recall of the 15 legislators from the opposition party after he received a letter from CCC's Interim Secretary General, Mr. Sengezo Chabangu, that the MPs had ceased to be members of the party. Meanwhile, Mr. Nelson Chamisa has been expelled as a leader of CCC a few days after 15 MPs from the crisis-ridden party were recalled from Parliament by Interim Secretary General Mr. Sengezo Chabangu. Mr. Chamisa is facing a battery of charges from his erstwhile colleagues that include embezzlement of party funds and betrayal of some of the party's activists. It is on these grounds that Mr. Chabangu said Mr. Chamisa is no longer fit to continue as the opposition party's leader. Moving on to business news. Zimbabwe's economy grew by 1.5% in the second quarter of this year, following an 11.1% decline in the first quarter, mainly driven by accommodation, food services, and increased electricity output. In the outlook, the domestic economy remains on the right track and is expected to grow by 5.3% this year, with macroeconomic stability set to continue, driven by recent bold interventions to address hurdles encountered in the first 3 months. In news beyond our borders, the United States on Tuesday said it was cutting a huge chunk of its government support to Niger because of the coup and refusal to release deposed leader Mohamed Bazoum and his family. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke to Bazoum, who is under house arrest, over the phone on Monday and reassured him that the United States calls for the immediate release of all those unjustly detained following the military takeover. With not much to leverage, the U.S. has imposed new sanctions on Niger. And finally, in sports news, the mighty warriors face Botswana in their final Group C assignment of the COSAFA Women's Cup, needing just a point to reach the semi-finals. This match is set for Dobonsville Stadium at 3:30 p.m. Zimbabwe are enjoying a 100% start through this regional competition, having racked in the available 6 points in their first 2 assignments. Moreover, they are banking on their impressive defense unit, which has not been penetrable so far. That brings us to the end of this bulletin.
Voice of Change News.